Hello everyone! Anna the Tornado Queen here, back for another video. In this video, I wanted to try something different, a forecast discussion. Some of you may know, the Storm Prediction Center has outlined a Day 2 slight risk with a 5% chance of tornadoes for tomorrow. The slight risk area encompasses over 11 million people, including Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Louisville, and more. Normally, a day like this would be a relatively mild, severe weather threat, but it's been quiet lately. This is probably the first substantial severe weather risk we've seen, perhaps all winter. I'm pretty slow at getting videos onto YouTube, so by the time you see this, it'll probably be obsolete. Instead, I see this as an opportunity to show you how I analyze weather models before a severe weather setup. So sit back, buckle up, and let's learn some tornado stuff together. I like to start with the 500 millibar wind speeds. 500 millibars is considered mid-level in the atmosphere. This is usually a little less than 20,000 feet above the ground. The mid-level winds are the driving force for the surface response, so it's a crucial dataset when analyzing a severe setup. Anyway, here at 18Z on Thursday, we see a very broad trough extending across most of the country, with mostly zonal flow across the risk area. This means that the mid-level winds are basically flowing in a straight line west to east. This is definitely not the deep troughs one might expect from a really strong low-pressure system. But zonal flow, that east to west jet streak, is often associated with a more discrete storm mode. Storms that tend to organize into cells and supercells rather than a strong line like a QLCS. This is because winds are perpendicular to the initiating boundary. Moving closer to the surface at 925 millibars, we can see at 15Z a modestly strong surface low form over northeast Kansas. All of this is suggesting a pretty promising, or concerning depending on your point of view, kinematic setup for severe weather. Let's take a look at mean layer CAPE. Now here's the rub of this setup. In the risk zone, we see CAPE values around 1,000 joules per kilogram or less. This is pretty weak instability. However, if we look at the 0 to 3 kilometer storm relative helicity, there's a large pocket of values higher than 300 meters squared per second squared, and even some reds here, which indicate SRH values higher than 400. This is very strong, as anything higher than 250 is considered sufficient for a tornado risk. It is because of this strong helicity and the expected discrete storm mode that the SPC is outlining a severe risk despite the low instability. So we've looked at the mid-level winds, CAPE, and helicity. The other crucial factor is the moisture. So let's click into surface dew point temps. As you can see here with these light blues and teals, a large nose of 60-degree dew points is stretching up into the risk area. A lot of the risk area is covered with more modest 50-degree dew points, so I wouldn't say the moisture is ample, but it's there. And again, with that strong helicity and expected discrete storm mode, this again looks promising that we'll see a few tornadoes. This is a data point called the Significant Tornado Parameter, or STP, which is a composite index that combines CAPE, shear, helicity, and more to attempt to gauge an environment's potential for strong tornadoes. At 18Z on Thursday, about 1 p.m. Illinois time, we see this blob of STP values in the 2 range on the southern Illinois-Missouri border. It's interesting that the NAM has highlighted this area more than once as a spot of particular interest. Now, the NAM is just one model, and it might change with later runs, but this is something to keep our eyes on. Anyway, if we take a forecast sounding in the middle of this enhanced STP, we get this hodograph in Skew-T. I don't want to get too deep explaining a hodograph and a Skew-T. This is meant to be a basic introduction, but you can see on the Skew-T, the graph on the left, that the temperature and dew point spreads are very close together, all the way up to 700 millibars, so pretty deep moisture. You can also see pretty skinny cape values, which is this area here. There is also excellent turning of the wind with height, noted by the changing wind speeds and directions of the wind barbs over here. The large, curved hodograph on the right confirms this. Indeed, you can see down here, the low-level SRH and effective inflow layer values are very high. Looking at this, I would say again that the wind profiles are pretty incredible, but the limited instability is probably going to be the cap on this event.
Waiting for my train to come, waiting for my train to roll on by.
So that's it. Hopefully you learned something about using weather models to analyze a severe setup and had as much fun as I did. Until next time, see you in Molica.
Will it just ain't my time? I'll just sit and I'll waste away.